I'd like to invite Her Excellency Mrs. Nadia Saeed, who will moderate our keynote panel, the mobile ecosystem and its role in banking the unbanked. And of course, I'd like to invite Mr. Edwards back to our panel, and Mr. Rami Al-Karmi from Zain, Mr. Alban Luherne from Orange Group, Mr. Omar Omoush from Umniah, and Ms. Claire, I'm having problem with the last name, Scharwatt from GSMA. Almost, yeah.
Sorry. Hello? No, it's
Two, test.
okay. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I think Paul's presentation laid the ground in an excellent manner for the panel discussion that's going to take place now. And it gave a very clear update on how things are in Jordan. To start with, I'd like to briefly introduce our guests. I think we have a very diversified and very professional panel, which will allow a very good view of what's happening in Jordan. I think you met Paul already. Paul is very briefly is the executive chairman of EMP, Emerging Market Payment Holding, and he's also the director of Net1 UEPS, which is a proprietary smart card-based payment processor. Executive chairman, used to be executive chairman of Cartwell Capital Group and CEO of Johnning Holdings. Held so many impressive positions in different businesses, broadcast, credit bureaus. I'm impressed. so basically, we're happy to have you, and I think you have been spending a lot of time in Jordan. From the presentation, you know it as much as we do, I guess. Rami, I'm going by the order of what I have in the sequence of the paper. Rami Al-Karmi. Rami is a proud geek, investor, and a recognized advisor, strategy, business model innovation. Rami is the advisor to Zain for innovation, and he's heading ZINC, the Zain Innovation Center, which is a very interesting initiative. Rami started his first startup at the age of 19, and since then has been actually involved in 100 of them, I guess. That's what your CV says. So we're happy to have you. Mr. Alban Luherne, if that's Luherne, if that is correct, is the director of Orange Money for Middle East, Africa, and Asia since 2013. Has been with Orange since 2003 and also held several positions. He was the head of IP and transmission voice and international wholesale market, and used to be the deputy general manager for marketing and innovation. The executive director of Orange Labs also brings great experience from the international market and international practice. I have Omar Omoush. Omar is the marketing director for Umniah, and he's responsible for steering the strategy direction, marketing communication, PR, corporate communication, value-added services, pricing. The whole thing has been in telecom for the past 15 years. And last but not least, I have Ms. Claire Scharwatt. Okay, that's great. Claire is the Senior Market Engagement Manager for the Mobile Money Program at the GSMA Association. And I'm very happy that Claire is with us on the panel. Definitely the research, we have been looking at the research you have been producing, and it's great. And I think you do bring the angle of best practice and world trends and standards for the industry. So it would be a great sound, as they say, a sounding board for whatever we're doing in Jordan. I think the last question that Paul actually posed was the teaser that I wanted to start the session with. So it's you already asked the questions you wanted to see before the session, what people think, basically. As was clear from the introduction and the beginning presentation, things have been moving very well in Jordan. You have looked at the numbers that have to do with internet penetration, mobile penetration, even the percentage of smartphones is not bad. In Jordan, the population is very young. The new generation will not accept but to deal with technology and with modern trends. What has happened from the regulatory point of view and the work that has been done by the central bank and the National Payment Council has been very impressive. It did set the ground for a real impressive ecosystem. As they say, the highway is there. It's up to the operators and to the players to really make use of it. And it's quite interesting how this will evolve. I think we are at a very interesting point where all of us, including myself being a banker, are trying to find our place and to find a niche in this market and see how are we going to fit this into our offerings. I think that the first thing I would maybe like each of you to just in 5 minutes tell the audience what do you think about what's happening in Jordan and what are your plans for Jordan? What are you going to be offering? How are you going to position yourself within this market and possibly comment on the outcome of the question who should be doing mobile money. If you would like Mr. Alban to start, tell us how does it look from Orange point of view and are you introducing Orange money in Jordan? Please.
Yeah, thank you. I'm more likely to talk about what we have already done in the world since Orange has launched Orange Money in 2008 with Ivory Coast. But I think what is key, if we go back to the question between telcos and banks, what is key regarding telco is that we can bring accessibility in terms of subscription, because basically if you want to subscribe our customer, it's free. There is very little KYC required compared to what a bank will ask to a customer. So definitely this is one key issue that we need to address also in Jordan. The second question regarding accessibility is technical wise. You talk about smartphone, but still a lot of our customers on the bottom of the pyramid need to access the service with very basic phone, basic handsets. And that's what we can do with mobile. And even if the smartphone is coming up, definitely the basic one is key, and the technology also itself is very important. Since we don't need any 3G, 4G, whatever. Of course, we have state-of-the-art network in Jordan, but not everywhere. So we need to reach everyone, everywhere. And the mobile money through the telco operation is easy to do. The third item regarding accessibility, I would say, is communication, because it's brand new, so we need to deliver clear messages. And we, as a telco, we are able and we know how to address mass market population with very low revenue and very low revenue per user that we make through them. So we know how to talk to them. And the last one, of course, is accessibility in terms of distribution. It's really key, and it is maybe one key difference between the telco and the banks. It's that we can reach, in Jordan we have a few thousand point of sales regarding the telco business compared to banks. So definitely we need to rely on this network to be as close as possible to the customers.
Excellent, thank you. Omar, would you like to tell us your view?
Hello. Okay. It's the opportunity is very clear in the global side, and the opportunity is becoming bigger because with the big guys launching the service like the Apple Pay in 2014, and even Facebook are planning to launch the Messenger, the payment over Messenger in the very few months. With that much of...
I think you need to speak up a little bit or make it very close.
Closer to the mic? Okay. Yeah, so mobile money is becoming obviously a need and a must. So just a statistic from the GSMA, I just was reading them yesterday. The mobile active users, the mobile money active users, what 100 million active users out of 300 million on the registered users. 260 services provider for the mobile payment in 90 countries. 16 of those countries, surprisingly, have mobile money accounts more than the bank accounts, which is obviously, it's very obvious the opportunity. Local scene is not very different from the international scene. 75%, as mentioned, unbanked, 160% of penetration rate, geographical coverage of mobile operators in Jordan from all over the kingdom is huge. Look at the opportunity. The recipe is just out there. We just go and grab it. As simple as that. Omniah decided actually to get into that opportunity to be with the banks, and we were very convinced that this service is not a telecom-led. So to answer that question, we were convinced from the beginning that it should have all the players, the EMP or the payments, the banks, absolutely under the umbrella of the regulation, the central bank, and we went with that consortium, and inshallah we will be launching this service in the coming few months. Also the IFA Watirkum, I'd like just to mention the IFA Watirkum thing, which will also give the education to the markets, and it will definitely pave the way for the mobile payment to come to the place. Thank you.
Thank you. Rami, would you like to tell us how it is from Zain's point of view?
Yes, of course. يعني احنا اليوم today we covered the opportunity very well. But to me, it's not only about the opportunity. It's an ecosystem that needs to evolve. We need to build multiple communities of practice around different areas of interest within this ecosystem. And I think now the time is just perfect to make sure, especially today, that we come up with momentum that can move maturing this ecosystem. Personally, I wouldn't consider myself a scholar in terms of ecosystems, but I've been carrying the torch of building ecosystems in terms of startups, and what I noticed worldwide is that an ecosystem to realistically happen, there needs to be an incentive model, clear incentive model behind any player within this ecosystem. And we all have to come together. We all have to make sure that this incentive is clear. However, to a fact, I know, of course, regulation has to be in place, but I feel it has to mature just as the ecosystem is evolving. Today, Zain, as a group, has been in the mobile payment for a while. We were one of the first to sign up on the GSMA Code of Conduct. We rolled out our system in Jordan. It's called EMAL. In Sudan, it's Hassa, and we're having Iraq very soon going on the network. In terms of course, we mentioned the unbanked and the focus. They're unbanked, so the banks are not there yet. So we want to make sure that the full cycle is covered. And as the vote mentioned, the shared model is the only model. I'm personally surprised, unless someone from the banking is saying banking, someone from the telco is. I'm personally surprised that someone voted other way, the other way around. Today we have around 70-something unbanked, as we said. Worldwide, the 2.5 billion you mentioned unbanked have 40% mobile penetration. In Jordan, we have around 80% penetration in terms of unbanked. So the opportunity is there, but we need to come in together. Today, if you look at the current usage within the Zain network, there's like 70% that is going towards P2P, peer-to-peer payment. And the rest, the 30%, is going towards the top-ups and payment, which is a bit different than the global. And we need to look into that. If we've been operating in the country for a while, The ecosystem is not really still did not mature enough. So we're not seeing the trend, the global trend happening in place. We're launching a new system. We have a state-of-art technology system in terms of back end, but we're launching something that is a bit more user-friendly in terms of the use cases that the users use. And as you mentioned, the millennial generation, they don't accept anything. And it's, we need to make sure that once we build the system, it's safeguarded, the security is in place, the AML is in place, and what have you. But again, it's easy to use. I can go in, I can top up my account, I can send the money, super easy. And as Omar mentioned now, the global players are stepping in. So if Facebook is doing it, then خلاص, it's there.
Okay, Paul, would you like to shed any light? I was just going to ask you then one question. In light of your existing business, do you see this as an opportunity? Do you see it as a threat? Do you think you're losing your current business and as such you're going to migrate into this?
No, not at all. Nadia, it's a natural evolution. What's important, I think, is that countries like Jordan, we're not a large country. We must make sure that our investment in infrastructure is efficient and it's going to yield the required outcome. So I think what we've built in the years, over the years, as collectively, is a wonderful, wonderful payment system that, as I said, is now capable of layering all these new initiatives like the electronic bill payment, mobile services, international remittances, and so much more, e-commerce. So the building blocks are there. The security is there. We have very world-class data security. I think everything is there to allow us now to leapfrog to the next level. And I think with the players we've got, sitting around here, we've got some of the biggest names in the world, coupled with the banks who are very sophisticated here in this country. To me, it's a natural evolution, and working together as a team, we can achieve so much more.
Great. Claire, so having heard all what you heard and what you know about Jordan, what's your take on what's going on and how do you see it?
It's a good question. And actually, Paul's question was a very difficult one. Because if I look at what's going on today around the world, it's very obvious that operators have been driving this sector for the past few years. The majority of services are led by operators. Most customers are also customers of these operators, so they play a critical role. So if I look at what's happening today, I'm very tempted to vote B. Tell-collect model is going to make it happen around the world and here in Jordan. But it's a tricky business. Mobile money leverages assets from operators, but also from banks. And at the GSMA, we believe there's no single player who can be successful in mobile money. We need to collaborate. We need to work together on a few different aspects. We need to work together with banks, and that's why we're seeing regulation should allow banks, but also non-banks, operators to provide mobile money services. This is critical. So the Central Bank of Jordan has already taken steps in that direction, which is very encouraging. It's also collaboration between players, between operators, to make sure services are interoperable, which seems to be also happening here in Jordan. And it's collaboration with the ecosystem, because the growth, the future growth for this industry will come from the ecosystem. It will come from the payments, merchant payments, e-commerce, but also bulk payments, government disbursement, salary payments, all of that. So we need to make it easy for companies, for the government to connect to mobile money platform, to use it to transfer money. So I think if we can make all these building blocks happen here in Jordan, we can be successful together and win this war on cash that Paul has talked about. But yes, operators play a critical role. I think we'll be successful collectively in Jordan. There's a huge opportunity. It hasn't been tapped yet, but everyone is up for it, and we're here to support at the GSMA. So looking forward to making it happen.